The final Group 1 on Sunday is the FWD QEII Cup, one of the highlights of the racing calendar here in Hong Kong. Before we look at the really good lineup this year, let's look back on some of the great winners of the past.
Jeune in front, he's stopping to look at the crowd. Jeune, world class. Ocean President sweeps up, goes to the front. Japanese history in Hong Kong.
Presvis is motoring home along the rails. Presvis has come from last. The Derby winner, Ambitious Dragon, makes it 3 Group 1s in a row.
Japan have won the QEII Cup again with neo-realism. Pakistan star, he's moody, he's mercurial, but today he's magnificent. Pakistan star blitzes them in the QEII.
Well, who will join that rich roll of honour? 13 go to post, including last year's winner. They're headed, though, this year by Exultant. Zach Purton. Exultant make history as well, becoming the first horse to win the Vase, the Hong Kong Gold Cup and the QE2 Cup in the same season, should he win. Glorious Forever, he's drawn barrier 7. Time Warp, his big brother, drawn barrier 10. Windbright for Japan off the inside gate. Last year's winner, Pakistan Star, from barrier 2. Eminence for the UK, barrier 12, Sir Mark Todd and James McDonald. Derby winner Fiore from barrier 9. Dark Dream, also from the Frankie Law stable. Reunited from Tim Clark from barrier 3. Waikuku, the beaten Derby favourite from barrier 8. And the 2 Japanese runners, Liskusio, or 2 more Japanese runners from barrier 4, and Deirdre will jump from barrier 5. So 3 from Japan and 1 from the UK, although trained by an Olympic legend in Sir Mark Todd. Let's find out a little bit more about Eminent.
Yeah, well, fortunately, he's a horse that cops the travelling really well. He's very happy so long as he's got a feed and a bit of water, and he's travelled up from Australia really well and settled in the quarantine situation here. So, yeah, very happy.
2 runs in Australia, terrific performance in the Ranford. What happened in the Queen Elizabeth?
Well, we were a bit of a loss, really, because we were expecting a big run from him. The only thing we can put it down to is we put earmuffs on him, hoping that it would just settle him a little bit. But I think it had the complete opposite effect, and he just went to sleep, fell out of the barriers, and then didn't really raise a gallop. So they've come off, and we're hoping that he can come back to something like the Ranvet form.
It's a fascinating story then, Eminent, on his way back from Australia back to the UK and trained by not just one of the great equestrian Olympic heroes, but one of the maybe all-time Olympic heroes as well in Sir Mark Todd.
Yeah, fantastic story. And he's a really good horse on his day. But which Eminent will turn up? 2 starts ago, back from a break. He ran a really good race in Australia. Last time out, apparently with earmuffs, Steve,
Yep.
He bombed out badly.
Yes, didn't want to go, and I thought that Sir Mark might have been drawing a long straw when he said, well, when they put the earmuffs on Winks, and she didn't react very well and she was slow to begin. But yes, Sir Mark, she still won
Yes.
comprehensively. Look, I think he's the sort of horse that probably can't be restrained if he jumps, and that adds another dynamic to the race, doesn't it, with the brothers?
Yeah, it informs my reading of the race. I think now that Glorious Forever has drawn inside his older brother Time Warp, that means we're highly likely to get a contested battle for the lead, and it could be pretty explosive. I think this is going to be a dramatic race to watch in more ways than one.
Yeah, and Eminent's drawn barrier 12 as well, so could add some extra pace as well. Right, let's get into the form angles from this. We're going to go back to International Day first and look at the Vase. Of course, this is a great battle between Exultants and Lise Cresseur. As we pick it up out of the gates, Zach Purton, Exultant, rolled forward. It's a slight change of tactics for him as well. In coming up to the race, it's been held up. But Lise Cresseur, she's restrained and goes back.
Yes, it's, again, Zach's ability to sum up what's happening almost instantaneously and opting to roll forward and take up the running here, which, as it turned out, was, it was the winning move.
Yeah, he's a real good horse now, Exultant, and he's much more versatile tactically than he used to be. A strong gallop is tailor-made for him, but he can race closer to the pace than he used to, as he showed here. Remember, this is a 2,400-metre race. Lise Cresseur is a really high-class filly. She's a hold-up filly. Connections are adamant that she's A, right on top of her game, and B, likely to be suited by coming back to 2,000 metres.
So she's going the long way round here, and Exultant still sitting very comfortably outside the leader's shoulder.
Yeah, this is an excellent performance, and of course she's tuned up in Japan, running very well behind Danon Premium, who is a very, very highly regarded horse here. She looms to Exultant here, and possibly looked like she was going to go past, but I think probably the splits she had to run to put herself into the race. She still finished off strongly, but Exultant held that narrow margin.
Great to see them back in opposition at a slightly shorter trip. Yeah. Exultant is a killer when he sees the front. If he gets his head in front, as we can see here, he's very hard to beat, and he rallies having gone ahead down here. But Lise Gracieux, I agree with Steve. I think she is just as good as she was this day, perhaps slightly better. I wouldn't be surprised if there's precious little between the two again.
If it wasn't for Beauty Generation, here it would be all hail Exultant, wouldn't it? After what he's done in the last 6 months or so.
Well, if he wins on Sunday and Beauty Generation wins as expected, the clamour should begin for those two to meet at some point.
Yep.
Eagle Way was very quick in the closing section, and Pakistan Star wasn't the worst either. Of course, he's the defending champion too.
Yep.
Do you give him a chance, Steve, Pakistan Star?
I do. I think drawing barrier 2 might be quite a significant positive for him. Remember the day William Buick won on him, of course, and he just trucked in behind them, travelled beautifully. Maybe he might, reunite with Matthew Chadwick. He might think, I'm feeling good today. I've had a little change of scenery at Mr. O'Sullivan's yard. He's a jovial fellow, and I'm feeling pretty good.
And buried away off a fiery gallop. Yeah. Sounds like a good recipe for him.
All right, there you go. That's Pakistan Star. Let's still on International Day. We'll look at the Cup now. And this is the battle. Glorious Forever drew the inside on this occasion from Big Brother Time Warp, and the race was really won heading into the first corner. But Deirdre, again, much like Lise Gracieux, got back, finished off very strongly.
Yeah, Deirdre's a good quality filly, but I'm not sure she's in the sort of form she showed this day. You did right about this race. The brothers got a relatively easy time through the middle section. When that happens, they're dangerous. Deirdre, I think, on this day, ended up in a moderate tactical position. I'd almost go as far as to say that she ought to have won this race. I think with a really strong gallop, her closing splits would have been good enough to go very, very close.
This time around, she's conceded them probably 8 or 9 lengths in the run here and finished off resolutely as she does. This time around, is she better for having gone to Dubai, or is she not?
Well,
I guess we find out.
Let's try and sum up these 3 horses. Time Warp, you can hardly believe his record for a high-class horse. He's finished last on 6 of his 9 runs. Yeah. Glorious Forever hasn't fired twice since this glorious day, and Deirdre's been below par not once but twice, and that 6 lengths behind Almond Eye in Dubai wouldn't be good enough to win this. So we have 3 very high-class horses here, but I'm not sure we're looking at the winner of this Sunday's big race.
Yeah, I don't think Glorious Forever necessarily has to lead. It may well do that he does, but I don't think he's necessarily a one-trick pony.
Well, in the trials recently, they've tried to settle him and relax him back, but last time out, although he ran well in the trial, he did pull hard in the middle, and I think getting the inside draw over Time Warp opens the door for them to say, let's make use of this and go forward.
All right, we've still got the Derby to have a look at. Before that, though, let's go to Nihiro Goda from the Green Channel in Japan, get his thoughts on the 3 Japanese runners.
I like Lise Gracieux among the 3 Japanese horses, Once again, 2,000 meter is her best trip, and her condition now is better than she was in December. And she jumped from barrier 4. This is a very good barrier. And ridden by a very good English jockey, Oisin Murphy. I believe, Lise Gracieux has the best chance among 3 Japanese in QE2.
All right, so Lise Gracieux then for Nihiro from the 3 Japanese horses. Winbright comes here, the upward spiral, but only in Group 2 and Group 3 company. Let's have a look at the BMW Hong Kong Derby. The 4-year-olds coming into the race, of course, headed by the Derby winner himself in Fiore. He had a wide gate, much like the favourite on this occasion, Waikuku, but Hugh Bowman made the decision to roll forward. Joe went back on Waikuku, and Dark Dream had a pretty tough run in the end.
Dark Dream was, to use Zach Burton's word, he was naughty behind the gate and in it. He broke slightly slowly, and then he got a tough trip. He was caught out wide, prominent position, but caught out wide. By contrast, Bowman was able to slide in behind in Dark Dream's slipstream, and he got a very smooth run through.
And that's decisive there, isn't it? That Dark Dream's facing the breeze, Furore getting a lovely run, and as the race unfolded, Waikuku simply had too much to do.
He did, but I thought he ran lazily in the middle sections of this race. He did well, but I'm not sure about Waikuku. He's also disappointed since then. Yeah,
it was a flat pot, certainly for him, but he finishes off here very strongly. And just going back to Dark Dream as well, Zach did say that when he came back and when he won here after this, he was much calmer pre-race. So maybe keep an eye on him in the preliminaries as far as what you might expect on the racecourse. But Fiore, Classic Mile winner and Derby winner, he heads them as far as the 4-year-olds are concerned?
Well, the handicappers haven't gone overboard on this form because, as you can see, you could throw a blanket over quite a few horses. But I do think that both Furore and Dark Dream are still improving, Steve. And I quite like the Derby angle for Sunday's race.
Yes, it's interesting to me, though, that I would watch that race and conclude that there's very little between them. So therefore, which one am I going to opt for? The answer is play everyone's favourite game, disagree with GC, and say the Derby winner cannot win on Sunday.
Right, yeah, it could be tactics. The pace is obviously going to be key here as well. So if the Derby winner doesn't win, Steve, who does?
Well, I've tipped Exultant, and then sitting here this morning, watching that replay again of Lys Gracieux, I doubt there's much between them, Exultant and Lys Gracieux. Deirdre, I think, will run well. I take Graham's point that she may not necessarily be in quite the same form. Beyond those three, I think a storming pace would give Eagle Way a little hope of running on well.
Track record holder.
Yep. And as I mentioned, Pakistan Star, again, storming pace, cosy run. I think they're the two I'd add for trifectas because I think they might be a little bit of value, Pakistan Star and Eagle Way, but little between Exultant and Lys Gracieux.
All right. Does it Price stay at home ground this year?
I think it does, and I think there might be an underrated horse, and I think it's Dark Dream. You touched on his Class 1 win last time. I was much more impressed by that performance than most people. I think I'm confident he's still improving. He needs to be, but the cherry on the Dark Dream cake is the probability now of a really, really strong gallop. I think the harder they go, the better he'll run, and I think the market might just miss Dark Dream.
All right, Champions Day seems to be well named this year with two, I think, genuine champions lining up in the sprints and the mile, and possibly we'll have a champion emerge out of the QE2 too.
Absolutely. I think it's a fantastic day's racing to have these two great horses and a great race.
What are you looking forward to most, Graham?
Obviously, Beauty Generation. You know, at the moment, he's the world's highest rated horse. But there is a scenario you can envisage. If Santa Ana Lane does to this field what he did to the TJ Smith, he might even nudge ahead of Beauty Generation. But to have the world's number 1 and 2 rated active horses is fantastic. And then we finish off with a super competitive QE2 where you could give easily 6 or 7 or 8 horses a chance, and Steve just did.
And aside from your matchup, what about Santa Ana Lane v Beauty Generation? Back to 7, 1,400 metres. Now that'd be something.
Fantasy racing. Yeah. It's what the game's all about. You've got to look forward.
Thank you, as always, gentlemen. The coverage on Sunday, 12:45 for our first race. The big races, though, the hour and 20 minutes of power races, 6, 7 and 8. Chairman's Sprint Prize at 3:20. Champions Mile at 4 o'clock. And the FWD QE2 Cup from 4:40 locally. Should be a fantastic day, but that's the show. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we can count your company again on Sunday, where we're live here from Sha Tin with FWD Champions Day.